What's up, everyone? This is Q Grows. I want to thank you for tuning in this week. We've got a great show for you today. This episode was recorded on November 30th with iCanTHC, and we have a really great discussion about his career and his experience from growing all over the world and consuming cannabis all over the world. He's got some really interesting stories. But first, I want to encourage you to please become a supporting member of this show and of our community by going to our app, by searching Cannabis in the App Store, download the app, and become a supporting member. We could really use your support if you go in and download this app or go to our website at cannabis.app. You will be able to join our community and become a subscribing member. We've got $14.99 a month memberships for people that want to enter our monthly giveaways. We've got prize giveaways from some of our recent guests on the show. They hooked us up with some of their gear and some of their prizes, and we're going to give those away to our supporting members at the associate producer level. And then we also have, if you want to just come in and support the show and support the community, you can come in at $4.20 a month. Or if you want to come in and become a Cannabis Premium member, we have an $8 monthly membership that gives you full access to the community and access to direct messages. And it's a really great space on there. We have a really welcoming community for everyone to enjoy, and we hope to see you there. So without further ado, let's go to the show. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I think we're live now. Still getting used to going live on YouTube and how that all works. But welcome, everyone. Thanks for watching. We're live right now on the Cannabis YouTube channel. My name is Q Grows. I'm the co-founder here at Cannabis. I'm joined by my friend JR Token right down below. We started Cannabis together just about 3.5 years ago, coming up on the 4-year anniversary when he first mentioned to me this crazy ass idea after we hung out at the Emerald Cup about 4 years back. So we're both excited about the Emerald Cup coming up. But enough reminiscing and enough sidetracks. We've got a guest today. His name is iCanTHC. He's a content creator and YouTuber out there in the cannabis space. So we're super stoked to have him on the show tonight. We're going to be watching the live stream comments, so make sure to jump in the comments. I already see a couple of you guys in there. And then before I get too far in, I need to shout out Tiki Madman. He helped sponsor us to go to the Emerald Cup, and we just want to give him a shout out. If you are in need of great genetics, go to tikimadman.com. You're going to get yourself some dank ass seeds. So yeah, man, how's it going? iCanTHC, how are you doing? How are you doing tonight?
I'm good, dude. I'm good. Thank you guys for having me on. It's a pleasure. You can call me Matt if you want. That's just a little bit easier than, I can THC. So everyone calls me Matt. But yeah, man, I'm good. I'm chilling. I'm kicking it out here. It's pretty cold. It's -°C weather. So I'm just trying to stay warm and survive, bro. How about you guys?
I feel that we're both on the West Coast, but so we're a little soft. So when it gets about 40, 50 degrees Fahrenheit, we're like, you gotta bundle up and
Yeah, literally, dude. I got you.
Matt, so we're stoked to connect with you because you've been making a splash on the scene on YouTube. We both have been seeing your videos popping up in the recommended section of our YouTube. And
Nice.
so before we go into what you've been up to and doing everything like that, I'd love to have you kind of introduce yourself real quick. Your YouTube channel and maybe who you are as a grower, just a little bit about yourself.
Sure thing, man. Well, my name is Matt. I started off growing quite some years ago. I grew my first plant like out in the UK. I would not recommend doing that, but I tried it. Turned out to be a male. Things happen. And then I was living out in the Caribbean, and they changed the laws out there. So I started to grow out there as well. Free from any police or any laws that'll come to mess you up or anything. And I just started to grow, and I wanted to document my grow and just sort of show what was going on. I always wanted to like get into the YouTube thing, but I literally started off not showing my face or anything. So it's really just pretty interesting to see how far I've actually come. And you just hearing you say like you've seen my videos popping up and stuff like that is pretty interesting because YouTube really hates on us a lot, and they struck like a few of my videos recently, and I always feel like they're pushing me down there. So just to get a little bit of recognition that we're actually making a little bit of a splash, that's good. But yeah, man, that's pretty much it about me. I'm just trying to help the beginner growers out as much as I can and have fun along the way.
Right. And
Excellent.
go
Go.
ahead, JR.
Sorry. So when you were in Trinidad and Tobago, so, what was your growth style there, and what were the kind of things that you had to kind of overcome to be successful as a grower there?
Great question, JR. Actually, a lot of things, man, because out there it's not as easy in terms of accessibility like where I'm at now. So right now I'm in Colorado, and you can get things a lot more just easier, just being in the US. So for example, simple things like Amazon, buying garden stuff from Amazon, you literally have to pay shipping to get it to your skybox, and then you ship it from there, which is usually Miami, straight down to the Caribbean, and then you got to pay customs. So it's like a double set of fees you got to pay just to get the stuff to you. So that in itself was a challenge. Sometimes people reach out to you, they want you to test their products or test their lights. Just for me to clear some of those lights would cost me, a couple $100, more than the cost of the light.
Right.
So it really was a little bit difficult in that sense. And even just because it's such a small island, it's only a population of about 1.3 million down there. It's a really small knit community. So a lot of people know you, know who you are. And my background, just being an attorney, I was sort of like hesitant to even show my face on the YouTube channel. So that in itself is another challenge. I sort of altered my voice a bit, and that way I didn't want people to really pick up on me, who I was. But eventually I was just like, you know what, screw it, we gotta like just try to do something different. So I remember the exact moment. Actually, I ordered a bunch of seeds, a bunch of different genetics, like from Ethos, Exotic, like a bunch of different genetics, and it got seized by customs, man, because apparently you need like a license to import any seeds or plant material. So I lost like a bunch of money on seeds. I'm
Oh
talking like
man.
500-600 bucks up, and I'm just like, dude, fuck this. Like, we need to get out of here. I need to get back up to the US. Like, I lived out in the UK, my wife is from the US, so I was like, we just got to go somewhere. I don't know where we're gonna go. Like, I need to like do what's best for me at this point. So it's a beautiful place, don't get me wrong at all. Beautiful sand, sea, beaches, beautiful island life, but the accessibility of certain stuff is a little bit harder. You just got to pay a premium. You can get it at local dealers, local suppliers, but you just got to pay a premium and be prepared for that.
Totally. That's pretty amazing that you were able to convince the wife to move. And was it because of this hassle from cannabis? I mean, it's just I gotta give a shout out to like recognizing, hey man, this is an important thing to me, and I'm gonna make a big change in my life based on that, or a sacrifice based on that, even if it's not something that I'm doing to like pay my bills or whatever. It's
Yeah.
one thing to move for a job; it's another because they're seizing your seeds.
Yeah, yeah. It was a bit more than that. I just remember it was a bunch of things that were starting to like just come together all at the same time. And
Right.
that was like, okay, that was like sort of like the straw that broke the camel's back. It was the moment I was like, okay, screw this completely. Like it was just I can't even begin to explain to you guys like how hard I was hustling down there, just trying to push the iCanTHC brand and stuff. And it was just pretty difficult, just doing it from such a detached place. When even like a lot of my viewers were from the US, I want to send them slaps. I gotta send it from Trinidad, so I gotta pay like a postage from
Yeah.
there, and that in itself was a challenge. Some people may not even get some of the seeds I sent out to them, and it was just all very hectic, bro. It was
So
very
when did
hectic.
you make that move? Like how long ago are we talking?
Actually this year, dude. So February the 1st of this year was when
Wow.
I left. Yeah,
Wow, that's crazy. And
yeah,
so,
dude.
what was the kind of attitude of the local law enforcement about cannabis where you were at the time?
Well, it was changing. So when they first legalized, you were able to grow 4 plants per person per household. Okay, but it caps out at 12 plants. So you can't have like 50 people in your household and you're growing 400 plants. They're not trying to fall for that shit. So the rules pretty much were that you can have 28 grams on you on your person. And that includes, like, I guess, at your house and all that shit. So police were starting to get tipped off on certain people who were growing, and certain people like myself in the community. But remember, I wasn't showing my face and stuff. Other people were showing their face. That was another reason that I was really hesitant to show my face, just because I'm living down there. I don't want police to kick down my door one of these days. So when I left, I showed my face. But before that, police would literally pull up at some of these growers' houses, some of my homies' houses and stuff, and shake them down. They'll take all their plants, all their grow lights. They'll take their AC Infinity carbon filters, their tents. They take all that shit and more, dude. Like literally everything, and they're just counting the 28 grams. So the predicament that a lot of people found themselves in is that the moment you harvest, you're in breach of the law. Because a lot of times you'll harvest more than 28 grams. So the police are pretty much saying, well, you gotta leave some of that weed on the plant there. You can't you take it off. But like, who's gonna really do that? Like, because again, the people who are making the laws not really the one who partake, who grow, who really understand how the plant functions, how the harvest cycles work, none of these stuff. So it was starting to get pretty wild. I've even heard a story pretty recently. Another homie of mine, police raided his house when he wasn't there, and the landlord was on the scene and everything, and they took all his lights, they took a bunch of stuff, they got a copy of his ID that he had, and it's just wild. So I just did not want to be dealing with that threat looming over my head anymore. It was just a lot, and I figured, fuck it, let's just get out and see what we can do. We're still young. I'm just hit 30, so the time is now.
Right.
And so, how long have you been growing for?
My first grow was, I would say, 2013, and that was out in the UK. That was where I really cut my teeth. I had like one cycle. It turned out to be a male. I just flowered it out as a male just because, I was a little disappointed I did not get any buds, but just for the experience, I learned a lot. And then I pretty much took a sabbatical until like 2019, I would say. So a good few years in between from growing like anything medicinal, like other plants. Yeah, I would still grow, but nothing medicinal at all until the laws changed. And then once the laws changed, I grew a tangy autoflower. Again, I had to like get back into it a little bit, especially with the autos, because I had never grown an auto. So, maybe bad choice by me, but that's probably what I would say.
That's
That
cool. So, and so when you got back into it, I like to kind of like piece in the timelines and everything.
Now you're
So
good.
when you got back into growing with the autoflowers and stuff, when did you start up the YouTube then? Was it
Pretty
around
much around the
2020?
same time. Pretty much around the same time. So like short bit after they legalized, I think they legalized around 2019 or decriminalized. And then I still caught myself buying flowers out there. Again, another thing that I forgot to mention, just buying flowers was so expensive because a lot of the flower you get in, the hard stuff, the nice stuff, the stuff that we would grow ourselves up here or anywhere really, it's imported from the US, Canada. They bring it in from other places and you got to pay a premium on that. So I was paying like, some people would charge literally 200 TT for 1 gram, and 200 TT to US is like, 30 US for 1 gram.
Wow.
So it's a lot, dude. It's a lot. So when I'm looking to cop like a quarter ounce, I gotta be splashing them peas, bro. Or you can get some of that real brickweed, like that stuff that Scotty has up on that thing in the vape,
Yeah.
PJ. You
Yeah,
know what I'm
yeah.
talking about? Literally, you can grab some of that. So I was finding myself literally copping brickweed, mixing it down with some premium stuff just to stretch out the life of my flower. All those stuff sort of played into it. But
Right.
I started the YouTube channel, to answer your question, pretty much around the time that I got back into the autoflowers. So one of the first videos on the YouTube channel was that autoflower grow with the Tangy autoflower. You can see how poor it turned out. I patted in a big ass pot. It did not grow very well. It was not good.
So with your channel, I would love to hear you talk about when I was talking to JR before the interview, um I think I mentioned to him that I can tell that you're like inspired and learning from other YouTubers, and you're taking things that you're learning and you're seeing. I don't know if it's other weed YouTubers or other YouTubers just in general, but you're taking stuff that you learn from them and you're incorporating that into your video, and that's why you're at least partially why your videos are doing well on the YouTube algorithm. So could you talk a bit about that? Because that's not obvious to most people, that down to like the thumbnails that you use and all, and the big text, and like I can see that there's some
Yeah.
strategy behind the scenes.
Well, it honestly took a lot of time. You got to figure out what works for you. So, like, what I would say is that everyone has their own style, and it took me like a while to find my own style. And I really dabbled with it a lot. I changed the thumbnails. Like, if you actually go through my channel from the early days, you'll see the progression change in the thumbnails to some of the newer ones. And I'm constantly changing it up, trying to make it a little fresh because people get bored of the same thing over and over. Pretty much. I know I do. So that was sort of my thinking behind it, and uh, I sort of like looked at other people and tried to figure out, okay, how can I build my own style as a YouTuber, especially someone who is starting off, not showing their face, not doing their real voice, literally just. You could see my hand sometimes. Sometimes I'll put on gloves because I don't even want you to see like the color of my skin or anything, dude. I'm talking
Right.
like I want to be fully incognito to now being out there, having to adopt this personality and this style. And I figured out, okay, well, I'm trying to like be this person I'm not. Maybe I should just try to be me, just try to be myself. And I think that that's what people have really latched on to. So in all of my videos, I'm pretty much me. I'm super upbeat because I'm usually upbeat. I'm a happy guy, and I'm always trying to think of what's next. I'm always trying to think of, like, my mind is always working. So I treat my stuff like, pretty much like a full-time job. So I work two full-time jobs. That's what I like to say. So it's a lot of different things that go into it. But what I definitely would say is that anyone who wants advice out there is just to find your style. Once you find your style, like, things will work out great for you. Because a lot of people out here who I look up to, they have their own style, and that's sort of what I, sort of respect them for. So, like, Mr. Grow It, Pigeons 420, even High Again. I was just tuning into a live stream with them. They've got their own style, and a lot of people love them. And what I've realized is a lot of people gravitate to the personality, and that's, really why they grow so fast. So that's definitely one thing I would say. Be yourself, and don't get too caught up in what everyone else is doing and trying to look like someone else, but just be yourself and find a style that works for you.
Well, one thing I noticed about your channel, and I got to be honest, I was over at Scotty's and he's like, "Hey, man, there's this iCanTHC guy," and he had me watch one of the videos, and it was one of your shorter videos, and it was kind of a shallow, kind of a quick, like, intro into the knowledge. And I said to Scotty, "Is like, I didn't see like there was like some groundbreaking information there, but what I learned and what I realized from you is that you're planting seeds." And so you're using really high entertainment value to explain the knowledge and to get people interested and kind of plant that seed. And your production value and the way that you present your channel, I think, is really amazing. And I think that's definitely one of your strengths.
I appreciate that, man. And what I would say is that, like, growing up, my dad actually had me do like a lot of public speaking and shit. So, like, I was at church, I would have to speak before the church. He would literally be like, "Son, we're all sitting around the TV." He'd be like, "Son, go and grab that stool and bring a book, and I want you to read out to me." And it's just me, my moms, and my two bros, and I'm there at this stool reading out to him and shit. So, like, that delivery, that sort of thing, it's something that I guess I worked on a lot over time as well. So once I turn on the camera and I sort of go, it just feels, pretty natural. It took a little bit of time. At first I did feel like a little bit of a tool talking to a camera, but like after a while, you were like, okay, I'm really interacting with the audience, the people behind the camera and stuff like that. So I think that you're right. Like the entertainment value and the way I deliver stuff, probably a lot of people appreciate that. And sometimes a lot of people don't really want that big, in-depth, hard to understand scientific
Yeah.
thing. Like, if that's the case, they probably go to university and figure the shit out, or go to Debaco University's channel. But what I'm saying is that they want to figure out, how can I do this and how can I get results and get it in a short amount of time. So what I try
Totally.
to do is not be talking on for a long period of time, because a lot of people, they sort of get zoned out and they'll turn off from your video, and those stuff don't really work in your favor.
I think
Yeah.
that's brilliant. I really do think that's genius. I think, there's a place for that in our cannabis community within the podcast community,
Yeah.
because there are programs like Shaping Fire that go super deep into stuff, like down to the molecular level,
Yeah.
and that has its place too. And I think the value that you bring, like I said, is I think the seed planting is very powerful to our community and something that we could all celebrate.
Yeah, for sure. And what I like is that a lot of people go to what I've sort of realized is that people go to different people for different things. So different YouTubers, like I can call Homegrow TV. You know, he does some amazing seed to harvest episodes, right up there with Mr. Canuck Grows, if not better. You know, and people go to Mr. Canucks Grows and see and Homegrow TV for that sort of entertainment value. You know, they want to see this high production quality of the seed grown all the way from seed to harvest. You know, full detail videography, editing, and all that stuff. And I think I just do something a little bit different, you know. So I think everyone has a place, and once you're able to find your place and what you bring has value, people will accept that and they'll appreciate that. Because like you said, there's a place for those longer form and those more in detail studies. Because I look at a lot of those in detail studies to be able to deliver my shorter synopsises, you know. That's how it works.
Right. And I feel like you know, one of the things that you're sharing or showing us here is that you watch a lot of other YouTubers and you're paying attention and you're kind of like taking notes and stuff like that. I feel like that's super important. I mean, I don't know if it's a must have necessarily, but it seems like it's definitely a competitive advantage because it seems to really help inform what you do and help you find that niche.
Yeah, you can't create in a bubble, dude. You know, you can't create in a bubble. You got to understand like what's going on around you, like 100%. Like a lot of the great YouTubers and content creators will say that you got to understand your audience as well. Like, what does the audience want? Like, you can look at your analytics and shit on YouTube and you can be like, okay, some of my episodes where I did like this was not doing too good, but when I do this, it does a little bit better. So maybe I should do some more of this shit that actually is doing a little bit better, you know? So, that's literally how I try to break it down.
That's awesome, man. One last thing on the kind of YouTube nerdery. What are
Yeah,
you,
dude.
I guess, what do you follow or read, or maybe it's other YouTubers that you follow to keep up on stuff like, stuff with the thumbnails, and what I'm talking about for like people that are watching or listening is like there's trends in YouTube thumbnails over time. And the trend for at least I feel like the last year or so is really big text and usually people's faces, and they're kind of like really big react. And you'll notice now that like every YouTube video that you see now that comes out is like someone's face acting shocked or whatever, and like some big text next to it. And but it's people do that because it works, right? That people click on those sort of thumbnails. Can you talk a little bit about kind of how you keep track of that stuff, or how you kind of have learned about that stuff?
Well, again, I think I would say that like it goes back to the personality. So for me, like I see some YouTubers because I look at a lot of different channels on YouTube, and not all of them are weed related. Like I'm a big soccer fan. I look at a lot of
Right.
soccer channels. You know, Chelsea FC. That's my team. So I look at a lot of Chelsea FC football channels as well. And a lot of people do their face, but some people don't. So I think it's again all the way back to the personality that you portray, because you
Right.
can be like a person who's very, you know, more laid back and is not really like a wow in your face kind of person, and you come out with this wow in your face kind of thumbnail and it doesn't really work, it doesn't match, you know. So it's really all about the personality, and you have to be true to yourself. So I literally have some YouTubers that I follow on the Chelsea FC side of things, and they are pretty chill and they don't really do the face things at all, the big text, you know. And I still always look for their videos religiously, because you know what they bring is what I'm looking for, you know, that sort of thing. So I would say always just be aware. Just look around your homepage, see what other people are doing, and then if you want, you can click into it. That's what I do sometimes. Just click into it and see what sort of vibe the person is giving off. You know, is he like a happy, upbeat person? Is he more like a hey guys, how's it going today? You know, more chill and down to earth kind of guy? Like what sort of vibe and aura is he putting out there for the people? And then that can sort of help you mold how you want to be as, you know, a YouTuber. But I would definitely say just be true to yourself, because it's always harder to put on an act than to just be yourself. And
Yeah.
you know, putting on an act, you know, over time, it can become stressful on you. So just be yourself and you have fun doing it.
Awesome. JR, let's see. I was gonna look at our question doc to see what we kind of wanted to cover here tonight. It sounded
You
like
have any questions?
Yeah, JR, did you want to jump in about filming and editing?
Yeah, a lot of people are interested in podcasting, and a lot of people are passionate about their communities and wanting to get out there and start making a voice. And when they're setting up for filming and stuff, can you kind of talk about maybe a little bit about the equipment they might need to get set up to do an adequate job at presenting themselves as a podcaster or on YouTube?
Sure thing, dude. I would definitely say like you can literally look into something very simple like a USB mic. You know, they say audio is 90% of video or something like that. You know, if someone tunes into your video and the audio looks super cranky, they'll tune out. Like I was on a live stream yesterday to announce a giveaway with Dino Myco and True Nature Grows. The audio was cranky at times, and people literally tuned in and they were like, I can't deal with this echo, guys. I'm out. Sorry, Matt. I gotta go. So first thing I would say is definitely sort out some audio, and you can get that at a very reasonable price. You know, you can literally grab a USB mic. I had used the Blue Snowball for a super long time. A lot of YouTubers use that across all different platforms and industries and whatever. But there are a lot of different alternatives, so you don't necessarily need to break the bank. You can get one that just sits on your desk. You can get one that pins onto your shirt right here as well, and just connects straight into your computer or whatever. But definitely, I would say, especially if you're going into podcasting or something like that, try to focus on the audio because you want the people to who are listening to listen and have a good experience while they're listening, you know?
So most cameras are pretty adequate at as far as the filming part of it.
Yeah, some of them I literally I'm using like a regular webcam right now. It's nothing special. It's like $100 webcam or something, and you know it gives me good video. But probably what I would say is that if you have a webcam and it's not looking too good, probably check your lighting. You know, like maybe grab a little bit of a ring light or something, throw it behind the camera, and that way the light comes on to you, but in a soft way, and it really gives you like a little bit of a better look. Because look, I could take this light off now and this is how it looks. You know, it doesn't look as great as it did. But now I turn it back on and it looks a little bit better. And that's just a little square bar light like this. Nothing too
Right.
expensive, nothing too fancy, you know, just right there, you know. So the light can really help level up your camera, even if you have like a simple webcam.
Good
Yeah.
information.
Yeah, I've been kind of experimenting. I switched from a Logitech webcam to a Razer webcam that has like a ring light on it. So
Yeah.
it has so that I've been using that, and it helps too. Like when we've been recording at night and the sun goes down, and all of a sudden my room gets way dark, you know, and having
Yeah.
just that front light on my computer
100%.
or whatever. That's really cool. Let's see. So we were talking earlier about your editing, like production value on your YouTube channel. Could you talk a bit about like editing and maybe like what software you use to put together your content?
Yeah, editing is pretty time consuming, and a lot of people they sort of be like, okay, editing is too much. But you can really start off with something super simple, you know, something simple like iMovie. That's actually what I started off on, and I still use that quite often. You know, that's just a great way to just cut your teeth, especially if you got a Mac. If you got a Windows, you can use like Windows Movie Maker. Now, of course, there are limitations, but if you're just getting into the video production, it's a great way for you to understand like what does what how works. So when you get to like a more advanced platform, you're not like, oh fuck, this is wild. Like I don't know what to do here. So that's definitely what I did. And I had a little bit of a background in that from before because I used to create like soccer compilations and stuff and like go to school and record when everyone was playing and make compilations of that and post it on YouTube. So I did that like when I was pretty young, and I wish I was still doing that shit because I'd probably be a big ass YouTuber now. But but I just ended up giving that up for a while. And then I went off to uni, did law school and all that shit, and dropped all that. But then when I got back into it, I sort of picked it back up pretty quickly just because I had that little bit of experience with like Windows Movie Maker and shit like that, you know, back in the day. So I would definitely say start off with something small. Don't get overwhelmed. A lot of the more sophisticated platforms, you got to pay a fee for it, whether it's a monthly fee or it's a yearly fee or it's a one-time fee that you have, but you got to pay for the upgrades that come after it or whatever. So before you go and straddle yourself with anything like that and get overwhelmed, and then you don't end up using it, but you're paying for it, I would say try out the free stuff like Windows Movie Maker or iMovie, and literally you will be able to get some pretty solid production value, because that's what I use for most of my channel's life. Coming to think of it, iMovie was where it's at, bro.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, if you've got a MacBook or whatever, and you can just get iMovie, it's just so easy to do stuff. And then on Windows, I've been using this app called HitFilm Express, which is like a free video editing software that's
Yeah.
decent. It gets the job done. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I never heard of that one, but that sounds pretty
I
cool.
use KindMaster.
Oh, I never heard of
It's
that one
probably
either.
another obscure one, and it's
Yeah.
pretty limited. But like you said, I don't have any experience in that, and I was trying to find video editing software and was completely overwhelmed by the whole thing. And so
Yeah.
I found KindMaster to be simple enough that I could do what I needed to do video wise. Importing audio, I couldn't really get figured out, but that was my thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, so also we wanted to talk to you a little bit about booking and scheduling guests, because I've done that for a while. That was one of the many hats I wore at the Do Grow show.
Nice.
And so one of the things that I always had problem with was scheduling to get the guest on to agree to a time, to get Scotty and Dude to agree to a time. So what are some of the scheduling things that you encounter, and how do you overcome some of that stuff?
Oh, interesting, man. I'm a one-man army. I do everything over here by myself. So I reach out to the guests, I source the guests, I schedule. If they can't make it, I'm sometimes just here waiting, and I realize, okay, they ain't gonna make it. But I literally do everything myself. So sometimes it's a little bit difficult just scheduling, but a lot of the times, once you're persistent enough, you can sometimes get something scheduled. Sometimes you just get straight up no responses. You want a guest on your show, they blank you pretty much, or they just never see your message. Who knows? So you might reach out to them, they don't have a message request on Instagram on, so they never see your message. And you feel kind of bad, but you just got to keep on pushing. Don't worry about it. But I would probably say the most difficult thing is doing everything myself, because I do everything on the channel myself, from the creation of the thumbnails, like you said, to the actual shooting of the videos, to the editing, even the seed to harvest videos. I spend nights and nights and nights up, and my wife is like, "What the fuck are you doing?" I'm like, "Babe, I'm working on this seed to harvest video." Don't worry, I'll be to bed soon. It's 4 a.m. Get into bed now, motherfucker. you know.
Yeah, I've
so
heard that before, strangely.
yeah, literally, dude. So yeah, man, that's probably the biggest hassle I would say about it, just doing it all myself, but it's fun, but sometimes it can be a little bit of a burden.
It's a lot of time. I don't think people really realize how much time there is involved in all that goes into a podcast, and some of the other subjects that we were going to talk about. I could kind of like hit on a little bit, but
Sure.
I mean, you're educating yourself about the cannabis. You're training yourself about how to do a podcast. You're filming, editing, booking guests, doing media platform strategies, where to get your stuff out at, sponsorship management, and relationships with all your sponsors, and then you're managing your community as well. And so I don't
All
think
while trying to be an attorney at law. Still. Let's just get that in there, bro.
right.
Right.
So
Yeah, and
it's
still pay the
amazing.
bills.
It's
Yeah.
amazing what you do, and it's amazing. I mean, I just want people to understand how much of you are sacrificing to get this information out to people.
Yeah, it is a lot, man. And that's why, when I get, so much love from the community, I always say, this I do it for you guys. The community is what makes all this, feel so good for me. So like someone says, I'm fighting my battle with cancer. I grew my first plant and I was able to harvest. It's helped me alleviate my symptoms so much. I'm like, wow, that right there is different, man. Like that's what it's all about, you know. So those little things really help me go the extra mile and just keep on pushing, even though it does take a lot out of you. And a lot of people don't see that, you know. A lot of people do hate on me sometimes, and sometimes I got to put out videos, you know, just to address the hate. But in reality, it's a lot more love than hate. So I try to focus more on the love than the hate, you know?
For
Good.
sure. Well, we're about 30 minutes in. So speaking of love, I wanted to give a shout out to Colorado Love, or Ken Grows. He says he's one of your mods, Matt. So he said shout
Ooh,
out.
Ken, I know you, bro. Yeah, that's Colorado Ken, bro. Ken Grows is a mod on the iCanTHC Facebook group, man. We got almost 20,000 growers on that group.
That's
Yeah, big ups
awesome.
to Ken, bro.
And so yeah, definitely if you guys are watching this right now or in the future or listening to this on the podcast, make sure that you're enjoying some cannabis. Make sure you're toking some. A joint is I'm a sucker for a joint. I just love that contemplative moment, you know, by myself listening to a podcast or music or whatever. um it looks like you're a bong connoisseur.
As am
What's
I.
yeah, what strains are you rocking with? And we actually had a question from Al Telescope Al Telescope Uranus. They asked, what was Matt's favorite cultivar 10 years ago, and what's your favorite cultivar today?
Wow, that is a crazy question. I can't even remember the cultivar that I actually grew 10 years ago. I feel like it was White Widow. I was actually trying to remember that recently, and I feel like it was from I can't even remember where it was from, so I don't want to say it was from like cannabisseeds.co.uk or something like that. So I can't exactly remember, but now one of my favorites, I would say, I've really been digging some of the in-house stuff, and I would probably say uh either actually no, I take that back. It's tied for two right now. It's the exotic and the in-house. So I would say the slippery Suzanne from exotics, that has been really nice, and the slurricane from the in-house genetics. Those two have been bangers. The slurricane just turned some crazy colors, crazy purple during flower. I did not expect that, so that just sort of elevated it for me a little bit, you know?
Right. And what
It's
kind
been a
of
banger for a while. Slurricane's been
Yeah,
really good.
yeah, for sure. Hell yeah.
And when you're picking a strain, or when you know, do you find that you go towards certain tastes or certain effects? Like what do you like? You know what I mean? I want to dive into
Yeah,
your weed
my
taste, your
taste
palate.
buds.
Yeah.
I got you. I can answer that. I love that gassy dank, stanky stank. That's what I like, man. I like that. I like the anything diesel-y, anything super gassy. I'm not a huge fan of like super sweet and fruit. Like I got a homie that came by and dropped some super sweet stuff. Like if you can smell this sweet stuff, but for me, it's just not an enjoyable smoke. Like I put some of that, and I mixed it in with some of my gassy stuff today, and I was like, dude, this just killed my whole shit. Like I'm not even enjoying this spliff anymore. Like this J is not doing it for me. Like you know. So I go for the gassy stuff. I love dank, and if anything smells dank, or the cultivar describes it as gassy or not terpy. What's the word I'm looking for? Propane. People like to say that
Oh,
propane.
interesting.
Yeah, if it reeks of propane, then yeah, I'm all for it.
So when you were in the UK, what were kind of the trends for? Because like I know back in the day, cheese and skunk was really huge,
Yeah.
but like what's kind of the trends now going on over there?
Out in the UK, I got a lot of cheeses still, so you get a lot of that blue cheese, or just straight up cheese. You know, I love the cheese. I was a sucker for cheese.
Fire.
Yeah, I love cheese. Like a lot of people don't like it. It's a really acquired, but because I love that dank stinky smell so much. Like cheese is right up my alley. But my brother, on the other hand, he loves amnesia, and you get a lot of amnesia out in the UK. So we got like a lot of lemon amnesia, and just different variations of the amnesia, and that had its own distinct smell. So those two I would probably say were the biggest ones, and they would call it like pang. Anything that was hitting, that shit was pang.
That's cool. That's so they have a whole. Now, tell us a little bit about the stoner culture over there, because here in America, I mean, we've got like everything from,
Everything.
closed loop, jadam growing to indoor, in a condo somewhere. So, what's the stoner scene like there in
Well, it was pretty
UK?
cool, man. I enjoyed it actually, but it was super like underground still, because like you can't grow out there. So if people are growing out there, it's literally underground, sort of gray market, sort of black market kind of thing. But when it came to like just enjoying my flower, I loved the flower I got, especially moving from a place like Trinidad, where the flower was a lot more expensive. I was able to get it at a more accessible price, but it was still really fire. And one thing I noticed that was super different when I first moved up there is that a lot of the people who lived out in the UK, they would roll their own cigarettes, so they would have the tobacco, and it would come with a little book of Rizla, and they would have filters in there, and they'll literally roll their own cigarettes. You'll see them at the bus stop rolling up this thing, and you think, is that weed? And it's no, it's literally a cigarette full of tobacco, and they'll actually use a lot of that tobacco and sprinkle some weed on it, and they'll call that like a joint. So they would smoke that, and it would be like a super watered down head high kind of spliff, and
Yeah.
a lot of people would be smoking. I'm talking like some Wiz Khalifa spliffs, like fat, like cones, bro. And you take two tokes in that, and like you get an immediate head rush and shit. But in the US, it's straight weed, and back where I was living, it was straight weed. So I would literally roll like a straight for them, and they would be like, "You gonna smoke that whole thing straight? That's pure." That's pure. You sure about that? Like, and I'm like, yeah, dude, blaze it up. But
And that's kind
that,
of big over in Europe.
yeah.
I had a foreign exchange student come from France when I was younger and a teenager, and he convinced us to put tobacco in our joint. And we were, of course, completely grossed out and thought it was the worst thing ever. But he was pretty stoked. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I
He
literally
called
hit a
it
lot of
shit,
bongs.
is what he said they over there they called it shit. I was like, well, that's not a good word.
Yeah, that does not sound good. Oh man. But I hit a lot of bongs over there as well. So like usually I was by myself. I was trying to conserve weed, and I remember like 3.5 grams would cost you about 40 pounds. And back then the US dollar was not as strong as it is now in comparison to the pound. The pound has dropped a lot, so I think it's like almost the same as the US dollar. But back then it was like 40 quid, 40 pounds for a 3.5, where you can pay like 70 and get a quarter ounce. So I'll try to make a quarter ounce last me like literally a whole week. I'm talking like Monday to Friday. So I would have to hit it in a bong so that shit could last. If I was smoking J's, there's just no way it would last. And funny though, you ask about like different cultures and shit, and like that's how people smoked out in the UK, with tobacco and spliffs and things like that. When I was living out in Trinidad, nobody smoked spliffs. People will, but not a lot of people. It's super popular for you to do smoke what's called a roll on. So you literally just grab your paper and roll it onto the end of like a cigarette, and roll it up like this, and you have like a cigarette, and then you have like a joint at the end of it, and they'll smoke the joint down to the cigarette and then
Yeah,
smoke the
that's
cigarette
cool.
afterward.
That's
Yeah,
kind of
literally.
cool.
And they call this cigarette a funk. So once you've smoked the weed part through and you just got the cigarette left, they call that a funk. And everyone's like, hey, let me get a pull in that funk. Let me taste that funk.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's
So
literally.
what's the hash scene like in the UK in Trinidad?
In the UK, I did not get like a whole lot of hash, but there was a lot of it around. But I just did not, purchase it, or as much as I would the flower. I was just, more after the flower, just because it would last me a little bit longer. But you can get it out there, and it was super soft, super nice. You can get some hard ones as well. Even out in Trinidad, I got some homies that would make hash, and I'm not sure if they actually brought any down, but I know for sure that they would put it in those roll-ons that I just described to you, and those things would burn for hours.
But no like shatter dabs or rosin, nothing like
Nothing,
that.
nothing, dude. Like that was like a pipe dream.
So when you came here and you hit that first dab rig, what was that like?
It was wild. I was like, wow, this is super tasty. This is different. I got immediately very lit.
Immediately, huh?
Immediately, man. But it was super tasty. I was able to actually taste like the gassy terps that I'm always, trying to taste, trying to get after. Sometimes you lose it in with the paper and all that. Like when I roll my J's, I rip that glue off and stuff just so I can try to get as pure a taste as possible from my flower. So that just hitting a dab, it was pure taste. It was great. I couldn't want anything else.
Wait a minute. You just said you roll your joints without the glue?
Yep, I ripped that glue off.
You gotta explain that.
Yeah, how do you get the paper to stick together?
I just use my spit.
Right,
So I
yeah. So you
literally,
just okay.
Cool.
yeah, I would literally just roll it up, and then when I get to the top like this, I would just sort of lick the top, and I'll just rip the whole glue off, the whole top of the glue off, and pull it down. Back in Trinidad, we call that pig fat. You got to rip off that pig fat. Yeah, you got to rip off
That's
that. You can't
tight.
smoke that pig fat.
Yeah,
And
because you just don't want to smoke the glue.
that too, but I also personal preference for me, I found that it literally alters the taste of my flower a little bit. I can taste when someone has left the glue on there versus when I take the glue off, and I try to roll with as little bit of paper as possible. So if I can get away with tucking once and rolling once, I'll do it. I'm not like a person who will tuck and roll and roll and roll and roll. Like if I'm rolling a fucking, I don't know, dude, like rolling a roll of toilet paper back up, you know?
All right. I know what
Yeah.
Q's gonna be trying tonight, though, right? He's gonna get that glue off there.
Yeah,
I
dude,
don't
give it
know.
a try.
I'm like such a crappy joint roller. But what's funny to me is I have anxiety about my joint rolling skills. But then when I go to like a festival or whatever, like when we go to Emerald Cup and you sit around, a lot of people don't know how to roll joints. Everyone's like, "Oh man, I suck at rolling joints. You can roll it or whatever." So
Hold that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
me. If I can't use a dollar bill or a piece of paper, it's probably not gonna get rolled.
Yeah, I'm the guy that people will give to in a party, like, "Hey, yo, Matt, roll that," and you just stuff it in
Yep.
your hand, and two
Yeah,
people stand up
exactly.
in front of you to block the police, and you just gotta roll that shit up real quick and hand it back to them. That's me.
That's awesome. I'm gonna shout out to our live chat. If you guys have any questions for Matt, please let us know, and I'll try to grab some of those. I'll keep an eye out, and then of
Hell
course
yeah.
we'll give a quick shout out to once again to Tiki Madman. We were hanging out with Tiki Madman last year at the Emerald Cup, and he was hooking up with some seeds. I think I have some like apple and banana seeds or something
Dope.
like that. I think is what he gave us there. But definitely check out tikimadman.com for some dank genetics. Um, so, kind of speaking of that, actually, Matt, could you talk a bit about sponsorship and kind of navigating sponsorships on the YouTube channel? That's something that to me is kind of like a personal weakness on my end. It's like I feel awkward asking people and how do you get in touch with them and all this kind of stuff. It's kind of a bit of a black box. Could you kind of speak, I guess, to your experience so far?
Sure thing, dude. Just want to big up the chat as well, dude, because the chat looks like it's going nicely. Grow Mo and hipsters and hippies, Colorado love. But yeah, dude, 100%. So a lot of times, it does feel like awkward to reach out to people, and a lot of times people will just straight up say no. A lot of companies they want like to get exposure, but they don't want to pay. And a lot of
Yeah.
them they literally they don't want to pay, bro. They will hit you some sort of bullshit, and or they'll just say, we're not interested in working at this time, and hit you that generic ass message. But either way, you just kind of got to just keep going and looking for someone who suits what you're trying to do. So for someone who's like in the canna community, there are a lot of different companies out there. A lot of LED companies perhaps will reach out to you because there's so many LED companies. Like a lot of them reach out to me, and some of them I don't even get back to because sometimes I'm not sure whether it's a scam. So if you're concerned about it being a scam, definitely check their background, check the email address that it came from, because all these things come with navigating these potential sponsorships, right? Because they're all the potential benefits, but they're also potential pitfalls. You can get a free light, but it may also be that dude who's scamming your ass from Nigeria telling you to send him $100 to then get you the free light. So you got to understand which one is real, which one is fake. I get a lot of promotions and stuff coming into my email, and it's from whack email addresses. So you got to look at the email address carefully. A lot of the times it might be CZ Centrum or something like that. And that links back to some place in, I don't know, Poland or Russia or something like that. And
Right.
most of the times that's pretty much a scam. So just be aware. And a lot of the times I would say, people will reach out to you, and especially if they see the value in what you're doing, they'll reach out to you and they'll be like, okay, so we got this product, would you like to test it for us? And then that's how you sort of build the partnerships, but also be selective with who you want to work with, because at the end of the day, if you're creating a platform, you're building an audience, you don't want to jeopardize your audience for a company who does not really care about your audience. They just care about getting their name out there, and you'll be surprised, a lot of companies are like that. So in my experience, I don't want to call any names, but certain companies, they send you a free product, and they are down your back about you posting a picture of the product on your social media or something. But I haven't even really gotten the chance to actually use the product and give my proper feedback on it. So it's all about how you manage the relationship with those companies, but also how you are able to give off the impression to your audience that you're still being legit to them, because that's what you want to do. You want to honor your audience. You don't want them to buy this product because of what you said and then turn out the product is crap.
Right.
It breaks a little bit down the line. Now everyone's pissed. So I had seen like an issue with, I think, Vivo Sun's fans or something like that, and a lot of people had fans that almost burned their tents down and shit like that. So in that situation, if you were like partnered up with Vivo Sun, you probably have to some explaining to do to some of the people who you were like, yo, these fans are legit, go and buy these fans, and this dude bought like 50 fans from you because of you telling him to go and buy it or whatever. So that's the position you probably don't want to be in. So always think down the road, is this partnership with me, working with them? Does it look like something that can work out for both of us? And if there is benefit in it, then probably pursue it, and
How
start
do
with
you
baby steps.
how do you deal with or have you had any backlash about some of the sponsors that you've chosen to work with?
Um, Not really, but a couple of them you'll see like a few, they're few and far between. People will have their preferred persons, so they'll hate on other people. So
Right.
yeah, I get some of that, like some of those people who love like I don't know, let's say Vivo Sun. Some people love Vivo Sun, they'll probably hate on Mars Hydro, but I love Mars Hydro. Mars Hydro is pretty much the only lights that I use. So I've had good experience with them, and I think that a lot of the times there may be some credit in what people are saying. So don't always disregard everything. So some people may say they've had issues with Mars Hydro lights. I haven't disregarded it. My lights haven't given any trouble, but I have seen certain instances where people have had like a little panel go out. They needed to change the driver. Once the driver was changed, it was sorted. So it's all about being mindful and understanding what's going on in the community and shit. So I think that's a big part of it, because some people will give you that feedback, but once you're able to, okay, be like, okay, this is not really like a complaint, it's more about feedback, and I can understand what's going on with the companies and their products with other consumers, then I'm like, okay, this just makes me more aware.
Right. We Grower Mo made a comment about how there are so many content creators that are shadow banned, and so they don't get likes or subscribers. Um, that's something that we've all experienced, I think, in some shape or form, whether it's on YouTube or Instagram or whatever.
Both.
Yeah, or both. Um, Cannabuzz's Instagram was deleted a while back.
Yeah, I
Definitely, it
remember that.
sucks big time. Um,
That was
how do
whack.
you kind of try to navigate that stuff? How do you like on YouTube in particular? How do you try to navigate? Um, yeah, YouTube randomly taking shit down or deciding that you can't say this or whatever the latest thing is.
Yeah, and that's it. That's just it. Whatever the latest thing is, bro, because YouTube changes their shit all the time and you don't know. So like what may be good one day may not be good another day. Just that exactly what happened pretty much with the DGC. They started their channel like 10 years ago, and when they started, all these terms and conditions weren't in place. So they go back through all their old videos and like strike that, strike that, strike that. Now you've breached three community guidelines, your channel is gone. So that shit is pretty whack. But what I what I probably would say about the shadow banning and stuff, man, is that it's real. It happens, and a lot of people complain about it, but it's a real thing. And uh, I see the reason for it. There are a lot of different points that come up and stuff like people say it's about the advertisers because the advertisers put the money in YouTube's pocket and pays the creators, so they don't want their ads to run on anything that isn't friendly to the advertisers. Cannabis
Yeah.
content's not friendly to the advertisers. So YouTube is all about the big bucks. Like my channel got struck like twice recently. It got videos taken down. It got demonetized after like just only 1 month of being monetized. They took away everything, and I was like, okay, well that lasted long. Like what the fuck? Meanwhile, I would see other big channels fully monetized. They're showing plants. They're doing harvests. Like I don't even want to call names, but like I see Mendo Dope. I'm a huge fan of him, but I'm still like, how the hell are these videos not even age restricted, dude? But I show a weed plant like this for a second, and they're like, nope, we caught you, Matt. We caught you age restricted. And you're like, okay, well, I guess I did not please YouTube. So it's all a game. At the end of the day, the algorithm pretty much does what it wants. You can appeal videos. Like I posted a video recently, it was just me talking to the camera about lights, like 10 mistakes that you should not make with lights or something like that. And they age restricted the video for no reason. I appealed it and they rejected my appeal. So a human reviewer literally sat there, looked at my video and said, nope, screw this motherfucker, rejected. And I was like, wow, well that's pretty harsh. So it's
Yeah.
it's it's there's nothing you can really do about it. You just gotta try to work around it, and just when it happens, just don't let it discourage you, man. Like I woke up recently and YouTube literally docked like 500 of my subscribers or something, and people were telling me that they woke up and they were unsubscribed from my channel after being subscribed to my channel for how long. So YouTube has been taking some drastic steps, and they're never going to be like, yeah, we unsubscribe people from your channel, dude. They're just going to not say anything and leave you to wonder what's happening. So
Right.
you just gotta be aware, dude. It's pretty
Yeah.
fucked. It's
And
fucked.
I would say, especially with private companies like that, you don't really have any recourse. Once you've assigned to their terms and conditions, you are subject to their terms and conditions.
Yeah.
And my channel, YouTube channel, I started back in 2015, and I was one of the first wave of channels to be deleted. Uh,
Yeah.
I got my channel back, but like you said, I had like over, I think around 6,000 users at that time. When I got my channel back, they gave me back all my videos, but 0 users. And I had to start all over again. So that's kind of around the time that me and Sam got together and we were talking about this kind of thing. And that was kind of the genesis of Cannabis, was to give our community a place to post and talk without being deleted or discriminated against. And obviously, for whatever reason, that didn't work out. But I mean, I think it's a reality that we as a community, and especially YouTube community, have to deal with. So it's like, back up your account. If they
Yeah.
delete your account, start another one. Make sure you have good communication channels with all your users in your community to let them know this has happened and that you're here or there or
Yeah.
wherever. And so I think it's really important that we keep pushing, because obviously we're not going to be able to have much of a solution of our own.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I kind of suggest on that front too is like, diversify, build up your channels, so that's so that you don't just have one, just have your YouTube and then your YouTube gets jacked and then you're fucked basically because you have no
Yeah.
way to like reach out to your community. Um, One kind of easy way to do that is build an email list. So like with our YouTube videos now, I'm including like sign up for our mailing list kind of thing. That way, where we could always email people if we needed to. Email is its own can of worms, and its own challenges, but just those sorts of things can help. I don't know, give you more tools and help give you, I don't know, just more assets that you can use to help build your audience. But before we go, because we've been going now for about an hour, so I was gonna shout out to the chat if we had anything. I know James Mercer was in the chat, and he said he had a blast on your live stream earlier, Matt, on your giveaway
Nice.
tonight.
Big up,
Um,
James.
and also shout out to Raider Dank Vader. He's a part of the Cannabis crew for sure. We had Caribou Heart. He was in here earlier tonight. Hope you're doing well, dude. Richard 420 Gramps. What's up, Richard? He's out here in my neck of the woods. Always awesome to see a local on the live stream. That's awesome, dude. Um, so Matt, let's see. Before we kind of head off into the sunset, let's see. JR, were there any last kind of questions that you wanted to make sure that we hit on before we kind of head out?
No, I think that pretty much is pretty much what we were wanting to really let the people know what Matt does, what his contribution to our community is, and where to get out there and find him and support him. And I will say, I did, Matt. I looked at your YouTube about and I stole one of your disclaimers, but I kind of reworded it. I said the disclaimer: this channel exists to educate and deconstruct.
I like it, man. I like it. I was like, I gotta take all attempts that I can to protect myself at this point. Like I'm on two strikes right now.
Right. Yeah, do you have any kind of thoughts on that? You've mentioned a few times that you practice in law. I don't know what part of law that is, but do you have any kind of thoughts on that when you kind of run up against these issues where like cannabis content isn't allowed out there, or just like the hassles that we run into?
Yeah, my thoughts are that you just got to keep playing the game because you see, YouTube is such a worldwide platform. They exist in a lot of different countries, and those laws in all those different countries are different. So, because we are here in the US in this state right now, does not necessarily mean it's safe for all of YouTube and all its member countries all across the world. So,
Exactly.
that's one of the biggest things I would say. You just gotta like think of the bigger picture. So I see it as that bigger picture because like I studied in like corporate law and commercial law. I also did like copyright law, IP law, and all that shit. So I'm able to like see it from that perspective and understand like just being in all those different jurisdictions, it plays like a huge role on what YouTube can and can't do, and that sort of ties their hands a bit. So that's why I keep pushing for like legalization worldwide, like world fucking wide, like until it's worldwide. Like I don't see YouTube really changing their terms and conditions that much.
Yeah.
Maybe if the whole of the US and Canada, maybe, but I still feel like we'll need more, so
Yeah.
the more the merrier, man.
No,
100.
I 100% agree with you. I was on a podcast a while ago and someone was asking about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I said the same exact thing with Instagram, where it's like you got to remember there's like 1.5 billion people on Instagram, and you know China, or not China, China's a bad example because they aren't cool with any of that stuff,
Yeah.
but India is actually a best example. India, they're if they're not cool with you having a certain type of content, they'll just totally shut you out of
Wow.
India altogether. You know what I mean? They'll just say like no more Facebook in India, and so that makes them change their rules. It makes them think about it at least.
Yeah, in a whole different way.
And one thing I noticed whenever that first wave of deletions were happening, it was right at the same time that YouTube was bringing on TV content and children's content. So
Right.
they had to start dealing with the FCC. And I think once they started having
Good
to deal
point.
with the feds, it kind of changed everything. And that's when you've seen all the community guidelines and all that stuff pop up.
Yeah, it's so true, man. And now you say that because people will say, like, why don't the kids just go to YouTube Kids then? But then there's that little bit of an age gap where it's like, I don't know, 16 to 21, where you're not really a kid, but you're kind of an adult, but not really. So I think that that's like the area that like YouTube is like, age restricting your videos and censoring your channels and shit to protect like that category of people, you
Yeah.
know?
The last thing that these guys want is to be hauled in front of Congress to talk about how they're like, these drug videos, because that's because like, and it's kind of jokey, but it's true, it's
It's
legit. Like,
true.
like
Yeah.
Congress is pulling, like shit'll happen in the news, and then all of a sudden those people have to testify in front of Congress, a few months later, because Congress is kind of liking scrutinizing tech right now. So I
Yeah.
think there's a bit of that too, where they're all trying to kind of cover their asses.
100%.
Well, obviously we could talk about this kind of shit for a long time. We've got a lot of passion and interest in these sorts of subjects, but we've had a really great time hanging out with you tonight, Matt. And a huge shout out to everyone in chat, everyone in your community that watches this video and has been watching tonight. Cheers to you all, the iCanTHC fans out there. Do you have like a name for your crew?
The
Your
ICANN fam.
the ICANN fam. Shout out
I
to the
can
ICANN
fam.
fam.
The ICANN fam. That's what's up, man.
Well,
And are you on Discord?
Yep, we're on Discord. We're on Discord. I can drop the link in the chat in a bit, maybe. We're also on Instagram. Check us out on Instagram. YouTube actually banned our hashtag on Instagram like a long time ago, which is crazy. That shadow banning shit is real. But we're also on Facebook. You can check us out on Facebook. Join the Facebook groups. There are 2 groups on there, and of course on YouTube, man. We're on YouTube, and every Monday we drop an episode of the Talking Loud podcast. So we got a lot of stuff going on.
Awesome. And is the Talking Loud podcast like on other podcast platforms? Like, do you distribute it everywhere, kind of thing?
Yeah, you can get it on like Apple Podcasts
Okay.
and Spotify and shit like that.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm an audio podcast guy. I'm like I said, I'm smoking a joint, sitting on the porch,
I'm
or
listening.
something
I
like
like
that.
that. I like that.
Yeah. Awesome. And then your YouTube channel is youtube.com/
I can THC.
Okay.
Yeah, and that should
Awesome.
come up.
Well, thank you so much, Matt, for your time tonight. We really appreciate it. Huge shout out to everyone who's watching this. Please like and subscribe on YouTube, both on Matt's channel over at iCanTHC and here on Cannabis. We're at youtube.com/Cannabis. Stay tuned to our channel. We'll have more news in the future. We're going to be, JR and I are going to the Emerald Cup in a couple weeks.
Ooh,
He's
really?
also
You guys gonna be out there too? I'm gonna be out there. We're gonna link up, guys. Yeah.
Oh shit! You're serious?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Right on. When do you get into town?
I think on the 10th. I gotta just finalize like my ticket, but like, all that shit should be sorted like in the next couple of days.
Well,
Awesome.
Friday
Maybe the
night, I don't know
9th.
if there's still tickets available. On Friday night, they're doing a screening of the documentary about Frenchy Cannoli,
Oh
and
shit! I always wanted to see that.
it's going to be huge. So, Sam can maybe send you an email, or you can figure that out.
That
But
was
yeah,
like a
go
I
ahead,
needed like
Sam.
a Trump impression. It's gonna be huge. Yeah, on the Friday night, that's the 9th. Frenchy Cannoli
The 9th.
movie. Movie preview or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I got it. I think I'm seeing it right
Awesome.
here.
Well, that's awesome. I'm excited we're going to be trying to create some content there. I'm going to be, for our viewers, our listeners, our watchers, members of the Cannabis fam, stay tuned. We'll definitely have more content, maybe with Matt, and others. We'll be trying to film stuff and have fun out there in Santa Rosa, California. And then also JR is going to be at the Cowboy Cup in a couple days, right?
With the
in
Dude Gross
Oklahoma.
crew. Yeah, all of the Dude Gross crew is going to be out at the Cowboy Cup there in Oklahoma.
Awesome.
I fly out. I'm actually flying. I leave home at 4:00 in the morning, 4:30.
Awesome.
Ooh.
Early morning. So stay tuned, everyone. We'll be out there. So we've got more great stuff. Make sure you follow Matt's channel, follow our channel. We'll stay in touch with you all. And thanks for watching, everyone. We hope you have a great night.
Growers love.
Peace.
Peace.